We were just finishing a question. Is there an intrinsic link between a good, healthy, balanced diet for children and good mental health?
Yes, I think there really is, but the key word there is balance. I'm really not a big fan of, people, doing whether it's a fad diet or complete restriction of certain things. I mean, barring allergies, of course, or, dietary restrictions because of religious and other reasons. I think the key is balance, as with anything in life. And I mean, I never denied my children if they wanted to have some treats and some sweets, but we were regularly eating a wide variety of foods. I mean, I prepared everything at home. And I happen to enjoy cooking, so that makes it easy. But again, if you would rather get the frozen peas than the fresh ones, knock yourself out. Like it's fine, and balance. And I think that there's definitely it's going to be important to think about the whole person. Yes, those first years are very important and they're growing and all of that is true. But you don't want to just be hyper focused on like, oh, the first 5 years, they got to get this going on. And then say, well, but what are they going to do when they're 20 and 30 and 40? And so
Yeah.
it's really about eating rather than about the food itself, at least for my philosophy. Coming back to what I was saying earlier, I didn't want them to eat broccoli because I told them to eat broccoli. And I certainly never said, oh, eat one more bite of broccoli and then you can have dessert. I never did that. It was like, look, this is what we made for supper. It's good food. I think it's good. I enjoy how it tastes. I prepared it with love. If you don't want it, don't eat it. And
That's
that
that's that's
philosophy
how
I
I
stole
was.
from yeah, I stole that from my mom. My mom used to, she was a single parent raising us, and she would prepare food, bless her, every day from scratch, and she would put, down in front of us the supper, and she would say, eat what you like and leave the rest. And she never made us finish our plate. We were welcome to have seconds if we wanted, but there was never this sort of pressure to eat this, don't eat this, this is good for
Yeah.
you, this is bad for you, this makes you fat, none of that stuff. It was just like, this is what I made, eat it. And if you don't want to eat it, fine. And always with fresh fruit on available on hand. And we had a very, very healthy relationship with food. And I tried to transmit that, and I think successfully have transmitted to my children. People are always surprised to find that, they don't sort of gorge themselves on, like if we do go out for pizza or whatever, like they'll eat pizza, but they're not going to like make themselves sick. And even at Halloween or Easter when they would get chocolates and things, the chocolate would still be there a month later. And they never
Yeah.
had that feeling of, oh, I got to eat it all now because it might never come my way again. And I think they're healthy, they are productive individuals. I think it did okay as far as food goes.
Can I
Yeah.
draw? Can I draw
That,
you?
that,
Sorry, go on, Amanda.
no, I just think that's good because I was kind of like that also growing up. I mean, there was never like, you have to eat this or go to bed or and my mom in reverse, she would never let me go to bed hungry. She wouldn't make me eat things that, but in the same breath, like I had Halloween candy last until like the Christmas holidays and stuff because I knew that, I was also an only child. So they did what they could. But like I never had soft drinks growing up, not because my parents told me not to. Like my dad would drink a bottle of ginger ale every single day. I just didn't like it. And I think kind of went with that. Like I didn't really like chocolate, which is surprising to everyone now. I didn't like chocolate growing up like at all. So we kind of like ran with that. My problem was more later on in life that because I wasn't forced to eat anything or whatever. At the same time, like I kind of had issues with food, like because once I became a teenager and a teenage girl, there's like so much pressure to look exactly the way, your friends think you should look or and like, so it became a little difficult. But I find now that as an adult, like that has helped me more instead of focusing on what the food actually is or what the amount or what time I'm eating it. For me, it's been more important that I'm eating something that makes me feel good because I do eat too much chocolate and I do drink too much coffee. But so I find that like it's helped me because I wasn't forced to do anything, I've now on my own developed like habits like that. Like I make sure to have like a certain amount of water every day because I know that I won't feel great if I don't. And I make sure to eat fruit and vegetables because, you can't just live on chocolate. And I think that that's like it's a relatable thing. Like I find a lot of people now with the restrictions and the fad diets and it's really, and with how we're talking about social media, it all ties in the pressure
Yeah.
for like teenagers and stuff, boys and girls is outrageous. So if you have parents that are, not restricting you, but they're just guiding you and helping you get to a certain place, I think that's really important and
Well, I
big.
mean, speaking about, eating disorders or disordered eating, the fastest growing disordered eating is orthorexia, which is correct eating. And so it
Wow.
just brings us back to this idea that there's a good and a bad food, which is completely ludicrous, right? If we look at all substances and substance abuse and disordered use of things, it's always about the why and the how. It's not about the what, right? If you
Yeah.
smoke one cigarette in your life, you're not going to die of lung cancer, right?
No.
Even if you smoke 10, right? And
Yeah.
so what makes that, when does it become addiction? When does it become problematic? When does it become disordered? It's not because you ate chocolate cake at your best friend's birthday. That, even if you had two pieces, fine, it's a birthday, it's okay. Like that's there's a good reason for that. You're not eating it because you're afraid to confront your boyfriend about something he said to you, so you're eating your emotion. That's a totally different game, right? Or saying, I can't have a piece of chocolate cake because then it's going to undo all the hard work and all the restriction I've done all week.
Oh God.
Or
Yeah.
if I eat the piece of cake, then I better go hit the elliptical for 2 hours to work off that, that's the disordered part. It's not the food, it's the everything else. And I guess that's the message I would transmit is like, yes, of course you want to provide your children with variety, but it comes back, like I said, that's my philosophy. I want my kids to have a wide range of experiences. That includes food. So yeah, we're gonna go try a Thai restaurant and like maybe we all hate it, but we tried it,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
I
we're,
mean,
and so on and so forth. And again, I want to expose you to ideas and always with balance and with a critical eye and again with a truthful one. Yeah, chocolate cake's pretty good for most people.
for almost 4 years now, I've been at the opposite end of the spectrum where pretty much, and I mean pretty much 6 days a week, we will eat the same thing every single day. And then we'd just still have our treats. We might go out for a curry or we might go get some Chinese once in a blue moon. Don't particularly eat pizza. But we have either chicken, rice and vegetables or tuna, rice and vegetables with different additions. So its flavors slightly different. But we have that every day.
And it's working.
Yeah, for sure. It has worked. Yeah.
Yeah, no
Surprise,
problem.
surprise.
Right.
I
I
think as
mean,
well as a knock-on effect from as well the parenting that I received, where it was that you will sit down, you will finish your meal, you will wake up in the morning, and that will be there waiting for you. So I think again, it's a control thing, maybe.
I'm not there to tell people how to parent, at least not in this context. I mean, I might provide some coaching, but I think that, you want to be really mindful with whether it's relating to children or other power dynamics, right? So whether it's a boss and an employee, you know, you want people to want to work with you because you like each other and you respect each other, not because they're afraid of you or that there's this sort of punitive element there that if you don't do this, then this will happen. Because that all that does, that creates resistance. It just creates a power struggle that needn't exist. And so if I tell my kids you must finish everything on your plate, they will either comply and suppress what they feel, or they won't and they'll get into a battle with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
No, it's
that's
true.
not good for anyone.
No.
No.
So it's like, why do I want you to eat everything off your plate? What's that even about? Oh, it's because I don't like cooking and I spent 45 minutes making it for you and so I'm somehow insulted that you don't like my cooking. Well, that's about me. It's not about you.
Yeah.
Right?
Agreed.
So I need to check myself on that. Why do I care that you eat it all,
Yeah.
And so, but again, this is a personal, that's my own idea on it. And again, as an employer or employee, I don't want my employees to do what I said and then to snicker behind my back and to think that I'm a crazy, horrible person. And to just,
No, that
right?
doesn't
I
help
want them to
anybody.
have a respect for, exactly. Well, I hope. I think that's the atmosphere I've created in my clinic where it's like, no, we're all equals here. And yeah, I happen to be the boss, but it's just, that doesn't really mean anything. If you're not doing, if I'm not asking you to do the correct things, it's meaningless, right? It's like,
Well,
do you
you're
stop
like
at
a
a stop
leader,
sign?
so if you the boss, but you're the leader, so they have to look at you with respect, or else it doesn't really matter if you lead as a figurehead, like.
Right. Well, I mean, I can still lead with just brute force and authority, right? And by brute force, I don't mean I'm beating people up, but I could be intimidating, right? I
Yeah.
could wield my power and say, well, I'm going to flunk you, or I'm going to do, I could do those things, or indicate that those things might happen. But then that defeats the spirit of leadership, right? Now, it works very well. Many abusive parents make use of these tactics successfully to suppress dissent. But I think, in the world that we live in the country that we live in, it's not going to be functional for them later as adults to get out into the world. And so I don't want, and when I say adults, I even mean adult professionals, let's say, I don't think that that's going to work in the long term. I think it's just short-term solution, but not a long-term one. Yeah. And you have to relearn whatever, right? If you learned it only because of authority, then you have to relearn it later because of
Yeah.
truth.
Can I digress a little bit and take you back to something you mentioned earlier with your children and the electronic devices being in the home? When you introduced these devices, what was the message? Because it's a minefield, especially if it's something that's not been introduced over a slow period of time.
Right. So this is a tool and it's a really dangerous one. I always had very candid conversations about all kinds of things like marketing with my children. I
Yep.
told them marketing is there to manipulate you to do things that you don't want to do, and they will make use of the following tactics. Even at a young age, we would look at billboards together and I'd say, why do you think that woman is wearing so little clothing? Right? Why?
Yeah.
Oh, because grown men like that. And if they think that they'll have access to a woman who looks like that because they bought that car or whatever, then they will want to buy that car. And this is happening all over the place, out in the open and sometimes even subtly. And so I always wanted them to be really aware. And so the attitude of the phone was like, everything you put out there, you no longer control once you put it out there. And it can be manipulated for somebody else's use, and you have no control over it. And this is based on, again, on the idea about confidentiality. I tell my clients, I will never share your information. I don't care if they take me to jail, because once I release it, even if you tell me I can release it, once I release it, I have no control over it. Whatever we're talking about today, once it's out there, we have no more control. And so that was really how I presented to them. Also, I mean, the typical things, we have sort of one place where all the electronics live and get charged. So I kind of have control over that, at least initially. And of course, there was no passwords, or if there was a password, I had to know it. And they understood that there was full transparency, that I was going to check at any moment. Of course, I never really did, but they thought I would. And the understanding was
Yeah.
that I had the right to. And it wasn't because I wanted to micromanage their relationships with their friends. It was because I wanted to make sure that there wasn't anything dangerous that was happening that they wouldn't be aware of because they're too young. And
Yeah.
that seemed to go fine. I just never really had a huge problem with that. They understood it. Again, it's not one conversation, it's like 5,000
Yeah,
conversations.
agreed. Yeah.
And I think if there's any message out to parents there today, is like, don't wait to have the conversations. Just have them all the time as a constant dialogue.
I've only really allowed my son to have social media, and probably in the past year, he's almost 17. Um, he didn't, there was no pushback from Kane about it. He allowed that to be a natural thing, and he respected my decision, and he understood the reasons why.
He's also a boy. He
Yeah,
might have had more pushback if it was a girl.
yeah, quite possibly. Yeah,
And I mean, I don't know, does he play online games?
he does.
Yeah, so that's where he's getting his social contact. So the boys are doing a lot more of this in the virtual gaming world, and so they're able to get that social contact there. Whereas the girls aren't. I'm not saying they don't do any. There are many gaming girls who do gaming, but in terms of the social media, I think that's really a sort of a 40-year-old woman thing.
Yeah.
Has
Or 28.
I kind of added myself too, so I don't feel too bad. Pushing 50 over here, so we're okay.
Oh, pushed. I've pushed 50, don't worry. With the privacy concerns with the kids, what kind of pitfalls did you explain that were out there for them? Was you quite candid?
Absolutely. I said people are out to, potentially there are really great people out there, and there are really terrible people out there. And you can only figure out if they're great or terrible if you meet them in person. Online, you have no idea what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it could be like the person is maybe a super, genuine, legit kid your age, who maybe just goes to another school that you wouldn't otherwise meet. And then I'd say, okay, great. Well, then let's make a date let's get together. Let's go take you to this kid's house. Let's get together at the mall or whatever. And
Yeah.
and yeah, sure. I'm all about making friends. That's great. But you don't know until you meet them. And this is advice I give to women who are doing the dating online. Don't start doing lots and lots of text exchanges. Hurry up the first meet. Meet them for real. Meet them live. Meet them in
That's great
public, but
advice.
meet them.
I
Meet
hope
them.
my friends are listening to this because that's very good advice. I
Because you
absolutely.
start to make, so look, we all build a narrative in our head about social, in the social sphere. So the first time I meet you online, I have a whole story, a whole, like, and depending how, creative I am, it can be, you can be Mr. Wonderful, you can be Mrs. Fantastic. And then I'm going to keep creating and feeding that idea of you through our exchanges. And the longer it takes for me to meet you, actually, the more inclined I am to maintain whatever fantasy narrative I developed about you when I do finally meet you. Sorry, Amanda. I think we've probably had this discussion before. So
No,
when I
I
meet you, I am laboring
helps.
under however many exchanges we've already had. And I'm
Yeah.
going to be very resistant to a different interpretation. I'm not
Yeah.
going to be disappointed when I first meet you, even if you are disappointing. I'm just going to say, ah, it was an off day.
Yeah.
We have all these 40 days worth of communications where he said all the perfect things. Meanwhile, it could have been AI, could have been a bot, could have been all kinds of things. But I've decided that this is Mr. Perfect. And
Yeah.
so I can't let go of that idea. Because if I let go of that idea that this isn't actually Mr. Perfect, I just wasted 40 days.
Or 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's the gambler's fallacy, right? I will spend $10,000 to get back the 100 I lost.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so this is why my recommendation with
You're
the
making me cry, but
I'm
yeah.
so sorry, but this is why my
No, that's
recommendation with online
this
dating
is
is
yeah, and honestly, this is good because Raf wanted to, really dive into what happens in your sessions. This is what happens in your sessions. Even if you're so patient to explain this to me over and over and over again, it's very good to still hear it and understand that, someone could be very, even if you move them right into your home, they could be very, very different once you really know them. So, yeah,
but
yeah.
and you will resist seeing that.
I,
We know this happens in abusive marriages. We know this happens in abusive relationships of all kinds. Again, it could be the workplace. It's not necessarily personal relationships where, this is the best job ever. I can't believe I got this job. I cornered it. And then you get there and it's toxic and it's miserable. Ah, it's okay. We'll wait till next quarter. Oh, well, they didn't give me the bonus. That's all right. I'll work harder. And there's definitely that the resistance for humans. I think it's an ego-based thing where we just to say like, oh, yeah, I was wrong. you
yeah,
know, and I invested poorly and I didn't know when to get out.
yeah, for sure.
Wow. That seems to be a common thread across a whole spectrum of life experiences, the lack of commitment of getting out. We're quick to get in.
Yeah. And I mean, I like to give, because people get frustrated by, let's say in the dating scene, they get frustrated. Oh, there's no good people out there. I can never meet anybody right. Or they meet someone, but then, it's not really, they're not perfect. And then I'm always saying to them, like, think of your very best friend in the world. Let's say a friend you've had for 20 plus years, right? And they're like, yeah, okay. Think about them. You really like them. You get along. You have tons of stuff in common. Yeah. And it took you 20 years to get there. You're
Yeah,
holding that same, it's not the same. You can't use the same standard. It's a slow burn. You can't just expect to know someone really well and decide to commit to them after, a couple of email exchanges or, sorry, text exchanges or whatever, media exchanges. That's not how relationships work.
yeah, for sure not.
Have you
But it's
seen? Have you
hard when
seen
you
this?
see that,
Sorry.
No, it's hard to once you realize that, dude, I say realize, I think you see things, but you don't actually realize, you don't actually understand until sometimes it's too late. And man,
Well,
it's
and I
horrible.
think, I don't like to paint with broad brush, but I think women particularly are susceptible because we are constantly denying our gut instincts. We're constantly taught, just smile, be nice, be polite. No, 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 that weird feeling you have in the pit of your stomach, that's nothing. You'll get over it, just walk it off. It'll be okay. And yeah,
Wow.
and oh, it's
Wow.
okay. And we look to take care of the other one. And I mean, I'm guilty of this. I'm a therapist for crying out loud. So I definitely give people the benefit of the doubt. And I'm very patient with questionable behavior. But I think in a context of a professional context, it's fine, I'm safe. But in your personal life, if you don't listen to your gut, you can very quickly get into a lot of trouble. And commit and continue to invest. Amanda, you could speak to this more than anyone. Continue to
Yeah.
invest in something that is not yielding any returns.
It was, I look at it, that he was saying, no, I'm this. And I was literally saying, no, you're not. No, you're not. You're who you were before. No, you're not. Like, and
Well,
that's
because you
basically,
needed him to not be.
yeah, but yeah, no, it's a good point. It's very, I hope my friends are listening.
Has this been something again that's been a bit of a common thread, the online relationship
Well,
phenomenon?
isn't there a program about that, fishing and so on? Aren't there like reality television shows about this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's yeah. Listen, like I said earlier, anything that's going to have a human stamp on it's going to have really wonderful, great things about it and really tortured, ugly, dark things about it too, right? So, and we've known this forever since the beginning of time, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have. I think that's a poignant time to leave it. Thank you both for your time.
Thank you.